Hey everybody, Trishna here. So today I want to talk to you about the time I met a shadow person. So a few years ago, I was moved into a different organization and I got a new team and I got a new boss. And these aren't the worst people that I've ever worked with, but they're kind of in that realm. They just really weren't a good team. And we all worked remotely. And I guess I thought that we should all have a team meeting together in one place so we could hammer out a few things together all at the same time. And so basically we planned to meet in California, and this wasn't really something that I was happy about because I already worked with them virtually every single day, and that was more than enough for me. And then to have to go to California and spend like 8 hours a day with them in the same room for all that time, and then also being an empath, like that just was not really something I was excited about, but it was a mandatory trip, so off I went to California. So I showed up there a couple days before we were going to meet as a team. And when I showed up, I went to the office, worked there for a little bit, went and grabbed dinner, and then settled into my hotel room and decided to call it an early night. And so I went to bed just like anybody else would, and I was sleeping and I was having these dreams. And as I was dreaming, I was feeling like somebody was asking me to wake up. I kept hearing, wake up, wake up. And it wasn't in my dream. It was like somebody outside of me was asking me to wake up. And I felt compelled to wake up. So I did. I woke up and I opened my eyes and I was sleeping on my right side. I opened my eyes and I immediately turned around and looked at the corner of my left bed. I turned around to the left and looked at the corner of my bed. And standing there was this tall, thin, dark, shadowy man. And normally this kind of situation would freak somebody out. And I have been a psychic. I was born psychic, so unusual experiences are kind of part of the package for me, but normally this would freak me out too. Like this would freak anybody out. But I didn't feel freaked out at all. In fact, I felt very calm. The energy that he was giving me was just very loving, very gentle, very calming energy, and that's how I felt. And he picked up on things that I was going through, I guess, and he gave me some advice. And what he said was, I don't remember the exact wording of what he said. After this experience, I did think about writing it down, but I didn't really feel like getting out of bed, looking for paper, trying to find a pen to write it down, and I figured it was such profound advice that I would remember it the next morning, but does that ever really happen? But I remember the gist, and basically what he told me was, always remember and always know that the universe is always conspiring to support you, never to thwart you. And this whole conversation that we were having happened telepathically. And when it comes to telepathy, it's not just about the thoughts or the visions that you get. It's also about the emotions. When somebody sends you a telepathic message, whatever they're feeling at that moment gets sent with it. And that's what really made this advice just so profound for me, so meaningful for me. It was like really what I needed to hear in that moment of my life. It wasn't just the words, it was the feeling of love and compassion that he had for me and support all embedded. Language is really useful, but when it comes to telepathy, it's just like levels above that. Like there's just so much meaning and you can't really put it into words, and that's really what I received. That's why it was just such a beautiful moment for me, just something that a moment that I guess I really needed to have in my life at that point in time. And we talked a little bit more. I asked him what he was, where he comes from, why we were meeting, like was there any significance to our meeting, and why he showed up here and all of that, and would I see him again, and that kind of thing. And after our conversation, I said thanks and he said thanks, and I rolled back over and I started to fall asleep. And I had that sleep where you feel the transition from being awake to being asleep. Like it wasn't instantaneous sleepiness. And in that transition, I felt so much unconditional love, just so much unconditional love. I felt calm and just so happy and just so at peace. It was just such a peaceful, wonderful feeling. And then I fell asleep. And I had the most amazing sleep I have ever had. that night. You know how when you're really sleep deprived and you need to take a power nap, and so you go ahead and take that power nap, and then that nap is so good, you sleep so hard that when you wake up, probably because like it's a power nap and you have something to do, when you wake up you feel really groggy and like your mind's not quite there, and you like can't even walk straight because your body isn't quite with it yet, and you want to go back to bed because you're groggy, and then also you want to go back to bed because it was such good sleep, you want more of it. I had that kind of sleep, except better, and there was no grogginess. When I woke up on time. I felt refreshed, I felt good, I felt happy, and the first thing I remembered was the experience that I'd had the night before, and that's all I thought about as I woke up, as I got ready, as I went to breakfast, as I caught my Uber, as I went to the office, because it was just that meaningful. It was just such a nice interaction. So I'm sitting at the office and I'm just thinking about this experience, and I'm just like, I'm sure somebody else must have had something like this as well. Like, this is just such a nice experience. I can't be the only person that has met a being like this. So I start to Google it because I want to see, has anybody else ever talked about this? And I had never heard of the term shadow people before this. So I was Googling tall, dark, skinny man, or like tall, dark, skinny figure, or tall, dark, skinny person, something like that. Tall, dark, skinny something. And through the search results, that's where I heard about the term shadow person, and the way that they described how the shadow person looked matched exactly what I saw. The thing about those stories, though, is every single story was a scary experience that somebody had. Every single one. It scared me reading their stories, and I kept reading them, partly because I was hoping that somebody else had a good experience, because I was getting so freaked out. And then the other part was I was so freaked out and wanted to learn more and be like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? I know he said he's not going to visit me again, but what if he does? He knows where I'm sleeping, like I'm here and I don't know anybody here, and all of that. And I kept reading it, and it's like people have these experiences where they saw a shadow person who was watching them, and in that moment the shadow person like disappeared, or the shadow person ran towards them aggressively and then disappeared, or they felt anger from the shadow person. Some people even said that they saw red eyes in the shadow person. I didn't see that. Not everybody's said that, but some people have seen that. And I think a lot, even people said that they thought that these entities were evil. And I don't believe in evil, but it had me freaked out. Like, I was scared to go to my room that night and go to sleep. So anyways, I get through the day, I'm just like, I gotta stop reading about this. And Trishna, like, your experience was positive, you gotta keep that in mind, but it had me freaked out. After my workday, I'm heading back in my Uber to go back to the hotel. Or maybe I'd already had dinner. I was close to the hotel, and my friend calls me. And this friend is someone that I kind of been in touch with over text every few months, but we weren't really very much in touch. We hadn't talked in a year. We hadn't seen each other in over a year. And that day is the day that he decides to call me. So he calls me and we're talking, and, he's just wanting to catch up. And, me, I had this amazing experience the night before, and now I'm freaking out about it, and I haven't been able to tell anybody about it because I haven't really been able to talk to anybody about it. I'm not going to tell somebody at work, and I don't think they would even care, honestly, about anything I have to say. So I was just had all these thoughts and these emotions inside me, like I needed to express them and talk them out with somebody and be like, oh my God, what's going on? And I decided to try it on him. I was like, hey, I have something I want to talk to you about. It's kind of weird, so if you're not super into it, that's cool. I just really need to get it out there. We don't really have to actually talk about it. I just need to say it. I just need to express it. And because I'm not somebody who likes to talk about this, like making this video was not something I had planned to do, but I was kind of inspired to do it, so here I am. I guess I'm becoming a person that shares this kind of stuff. I don't want to be the introduction to people. I don't want to be the person that introduces like weird stuff to people, like, but maybe that's who I'm becoming now. Anyways, so I started saying, I was like, all right, so last night, like this happened, and when I looked to the corner of my bed, there was this tall, dark, and he was like, was it a shadow person? And I was like, yeah, that's what it was. Like, what do you know about shadow people? I was like, oh yeah, I've seen a lot of shadow people. I've never seen them in Texas, that's where I'm from. But when I was in Colorado, I used to see them all the time, but I haven't seen them ever since I was in Texas. And I was like, okay, kind of makes sense. Like, I grew up in Texas, I've never seen this, and now I'm out of Texas. I guess probability's higher that I would see one. And he's like, yeah, man, they're scary. Like, they're always super scary, and they're aggressive, and they just, like, disappear. And, like, I had a video of one of them before, and then somehow that video got deleted. And, you know, I was just, like, freaking out even more, because I was like, oh my god, like, I know, at least now I know somebody I know has had this experience, but their experience is also negative, and just like, oh my god, like, how am I gonna sleep tonight? This entity knows where I'm from. And he could kind of tell I was freaking out. I probably said it. This did happen a few years ago. And he was like, all right, here's what you can do. Go find some coffee grounds and put them all around your bed, because they can't cross over that. He's like, I've never tried it before, but I've heard this works. I was like, all right, I'll think about it. I kind of knew that wasn't gonna work just from my conversation with the shadow person the night before, because I'd asked him, like, where he's from and what exactly he is and how that works and all that. So I kind of was like, all right, I don't think it's gonna work. Anyways, I thought hard about it. I was, after the conversation was over, I was in my room by myself and starting to get late, and I was gonna have to sleep at some point. So I thought about it for real. But in the end, I decided not to do that, because what I realized through all of this is just how infectious fear can be, and just how it can really seep in so fast, so quickly, so strongly, and how it can infect anybody. Because I had a wonderful experience, a wonderful interaction with this being. It was something that I really remember the next day. I thought about it for hours and had really good feelings about it. And then I start reading about it, and instantaneously, from the first article, I start to freak out, and it all just spiraled from there, from continuing to read about it, talking to my friend about it, getting freaked out even more. It just spiraled. And fear is infectious, and like I said, it can affect anybody at any point. And the thing about this whole experience is every story that I read, every single story that I read, there was no exception to this. In every story, it was a negative experience, but in every single story, the person who saw the shadow person did not see them for more than 1 or 2 seconds, if even that. Their experience was they noticed the shadow person disappeared. Or they noticed the shadow person and they ran towards them and disappeared. That was the extent of their experience with them. They didn't have an actual moment with the shadow person, and then nobody had a conversation with their shadow person. So my experience was the only complete experience that is out there and that I was aware of. It was the only one, and yet I allowed the fear to set in when the information out there was incomplete in many ways. So all of that made me realize the power of fear, like I was saying, how it can affect anybody at any time, how it's important to trust yourself first and listen to what's going on within first, and that you can handle fear and manage fear as long as you are consciously aware of it, of the existence of it, and when it is coming into play in your life, in your experience. And that's not just in the news, it can also be like this, an interpersonal reaction. It can be reactions that you're having with other people in your life, like more physical people in your life, not just other beings. And I think probably the takeaway that I got from this, and I guess a takeaway that I hope you get from this as well, is that in those moments of fear, I think it's really important to take the advice that my shadow buddy, my shadow friend shared with me, which is always know that the universe is conspiring to support you and never to thwart you. And basically just always know that no matter what you're going through or what fears you're facing, that you are loved and you are supported. And focus on that, because that is what will take you out of that fear and put you in a more empowered position and place and allow you to take more control of your life and your experience in it. So yeah, I hope that this is helpful. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video.